ethically wrong. It's not just morally wrong. It's illegal. And that's what we have going for us right now.
Yeah, and Jason, I want to say something big picture stuff that Robert and I agree on, which is we get our rights from God. We do not get our rights from the legislature. We do not get it from the government. We get it from God. So when the legislature, when the government goes astray, it's up to us to redirect them back to God's law, the law that exists in the universe. And right now they've got everybody bamboozled. They've got everybody thinking that they're allowed to do mandates, they're allowed to say required. They're using all this language that sounds like it's law, but it's not law. And so what I've been able to do successfully is just say, here's the law, now how are you going to accommodate it? Mm-hmm. And then when they try to wriggle out of it, I go, yeah, but guidelines aren't law. Well, we're in a private institution here, we're in a private company. Doesn't matter, you still can't break the law. So I've had success personally with going into Sprouts stores and filming it and just paying cash when they said they wouldn't check me out. And there's literally nothing they can do. And it became such a nightmare for Sprouts that they went ahead and lifted all the mask mandates back in April or early May before any other government entity did, because they realized this is a freaking nightmare having this guy film us constantly, exposing the fact that we can't do anything to stop him. So after that, I got through Sprouts, the next thing was people were telling me, hey man, I'm a pregnant employee at Trader Joe's and they're force masking me. And by the way, my manager is getting force vaccinated. And that's when Robert and I stepped in and did something called a demand for correction and investigation. Which
Jeff,
basically,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to say this because I forgot to remind you guys.
Yeah.
Certain words moving forward, be careful with, just for the powers that be.
The words.
Get this out, so we can get this out to people.
Thank you. Good point. So they were force jabbing some managers. All right. Anyway, so what we did with this demand for correction and investigation is we listed the 15 laws that Trader Joe's was breaking and sent a copy of this to the Attorney General of California, Attorney General of the United States, and to Trader Joe's. And I submitted that a week ago. They are freaking out right now. They have wrongfully terminated 4 people that signed on to this. And now these folks are going to have an easy lawsuit. Every attorney in the country would love to take this because they're firing them for using a third party to speak on their behalf. Ludicrous, ludicrous. They're basically stepping in wet cement here. They're imploding because they don't know how to live within the law. They've spent their entire time living in this system like they're living in 1910, the 1910 Mormon church, where they can just tell everybody what they want to do, and that's the law, right? So what Robert's been so helpful for me is knowing what my rights are, knowing what others' rights are, and now helping to actually present people with this information and say, we're not going to let you get away with this. We're going to give you notice and tell you, you need to correct your behavior or else. So that brings us up to today.
I love it. I love it. Robert, go for it.
So it's interesting because the VID is waking people up enough so they can accept what I have to drop on them. What I know is this is only a symptom. This is not the disease. The disease started 2,000 years ago or more, and it's been perpetrated the entire time, and people have been asleep the entire time, and it's just now waking them up. So fortunately, you know, God had me wake up in like 2009. So this is nothing shocking to me. This is all par for the course. This is just following the plan that I've always seen them following. But I've been preparing the entire time. So when Jeff and I met, of course, it was like, yeah, you know, I could definitely help you out and add some tiny little elements that will really make this stuff very powerful. So I started studying law about 12 years ago on my own, you know, as a carpenter, son of a carpenter. My dad taught me carpentry since the age of 12. And I started studying this stuff and I had to put it to the test. So I had to go into court for people because I didn't have any legal issues. So I was like, hey, does anybody want help? I'll go into court for you, you know, as your counsel. And of course, that blew the judge's mind because, you have to have a license to practice law. And I'd say, well, that'd be great if it were true, because there is no license to practice law. There's only a bar card, and that's not issued by the Secretary of State. And the Secretary of State's the only one authorized to issue licenses for professional businesses, professional practices. So the attorney doesn't get his from there. So exactly what license are we talking about? And if you clarify that for me, I'd be glad to go get one. And of course, the judge is like, you know, because sorry, dude, that's not how this rolls, you know? So I started saying, like, the truth in everything, and it's way deeper than we realize, but this is waking people up. So it's a really beautiful thing, even though it's ugly and it's scary, but people need to wake up, and that's what's happening. God is slapping everybody, wake up, wake up, wake up, because big changes are coming. And if you don't wake up, you're not going to make the ship, man. You're going to be back on land, and everybody's leaving. You know, we're going to another world. So that's, I met Jeff recently. I guess, what was it, Jeff, a few months ago, March, April, somewhere in there. And we've been working together ever since. And there's amazing people coming to the fold. I mean, it is just incredible what's happening right now. So
I love it.
yeah, so we're all pulling together, and yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good stuff.
Awesome. So I just want to bring up, and I'm kind of going to bridge the two worlds of both the spiritual side of things and the literal reality of what we're experiencing. And I spoke about this yesterday in a global meditation that I do every month. So on the repeating number of every month, yesterday was 8 p.m. We did that whole thing. And one of the big themes that I've been feeling with myself, I've been feeling when I tune into the world as a whole, is, you know, it started off, we got this. We're good. Everything's going the right way. And right now, it's almost like reality is really separating the boys from the men, you know, because it's getting harder. It's getting harder. Things are getting more and more real. And people are like, holy crap, what do I do? You know, the people that said, I'm never going to take it 4 months ago are like, oh my God, I have to because my job told me to, and I'm going to do it. So that's what I mean by like separating the boys from the men. And
oh, yeah.
So there's this whole feeling, and this is just my perspective, of course, so this is just what I'm tapping into, but there's this feeling of increasing sort of like anxiety of what's going to happen next. You know, how do we know we're going to be safe? How many people are going to get hurt along the way? How many people are going to die? How many people really died that we don't even know because they're not being reported? And the biggest question is, how do we put a stop to something that seems like we can't stop? And I know energetically the answer is you come together and unite. But for that to happen, that's a big deal. You know, the solution is getting people to say no. The problem is, how do we get people to say no? You know, that's the whole timeline of what may take the longest period of time, whether that's a year, 50 years, or 100 years. What I see when it comes to both of you, to both Jeff and Robert, is you guys don't just bring an opinion to the table of the light's prevailing, you know? And I genuinely believe that, by the way. But for those that need a rational foundation of something, that's where I see you guys come in. Because you have rational and applicable tools to say, listen, this is wrong, not because I think it's wrong, because the same people that are telling law enforcement to do something are breaking the law. And that's the irony in this whole thing. And you guys come in and you're saying, listen, on one hand, just what happened in New York, there were certain mandates starting on September 7th, which is going to be the date that they enforce everything. I won't be able to go into a restaurant without having a certain passport, right? And I'm not planning on getting that thing. So what they're pretty much doing, what Mayor de Blasio did in New York City, is he's trying to enforce law enforcement to break the law. And that's where I see we have everything going for us, because we're no longer saying, no, we don't feel that you're right. There's no opinion here anymore. The guy is breaking the law. He's telling the people that have to uphold the law to break the law. And I see that as a massive rational out, because we get to now say, you guys, the law is written. This is literally written in even their form of the law and what they understand to be the law. And you cannot do that. And I see that as one of many, of course, but one of the many liberating mediums and factors and tools that we can use Of course, people have to know what those tools are in order to use them. So I was hoping throughout this, however long we spent together over here, we can give as straightforward and as simple, and we'll throw philosophy into there as well, but the rational, tangible laws that people know where to go to in order to get, that people can source, that people can cite, and people can say, no, this is the law, and I'm going to follow the law. Might be breaking your orders, but I'm going to follow the law. So to sum that all up, my real question is, we'll start wherever you guys want to start. Let's start with Jeff, and then we'll go to Robert, so we just have like a coherent sort of flow.
Yeah, I can help you with that, Jason.
Yeah,
I can tell you what's working and what I have for people.
Awesome.
So if people go to my website, worksofyourhands.com, there are some downloads at the bottom of the page. If they scroll down, they can download one, the law on masks, jabs, and tests. The second document they can download is an interaction between a mother and a university where she just said, hey, here's the law, how are you going to accommodate it? And it's back and forth, right? It takes like 10 or 15 times before you finally get to the point where the school finally goes, okay, we surrender. We surrender. The reason it takes 10 or 15 times is they don't want to give up the money that they're getting to enforce all this stuff. So it really takes this one-on-one direct communication. Okay, so we're not doing lawsuits, right? We're not using the legal system because that's not going to get us anywhere. It's this direct approach. Here's the law, how are you going to accommodate it? So the second document at worksofyourhands.com is this email chain between this mother and a university, and you get to see her arguments and you get to see her winning. Okay, so every parent out there can download that, boom, you got something for your schools. Even employees can use it for their employers. And then finally, the last document I have is the affidavit and demand for correction and investigation for Trader Joe's that I prepared, that Robert helped me with. And it lists the 15 laws that they're breaking. Now, 8 of them are federal, 8 of them are federal, 7 of them are the state of California. And if people go to Peggy Hall's website, which is thehealthyamerican.org, they can get their state's local laws. They can then use this paperwork in their own state, and they can do the same thing with their employer, with whoever, demand for correction. Get it, and I did a video on my YouTube and Instagram channel, Jeff Weitzman, where I describe exactly how we fill out the paperwork and what you submit in certified mail, and then you get that out there. So there are ways that you can approach this. Now, I just want to say, there are some people we will never be able to defeat or stop or whatever, and we just have to leave them, right? This isn't about tearing down the government. This isn't about winning every battle. This is about picking our battles and winning those, because we can win those because we're right. We've got the law behind us and they don't. So that's the specifics of paperwork that they can download, that they can adapt, that they can use. And this is not expensive. Again, this is all one-on-one direct communication. And what's happening with nurses is nurses are banding together. And nurses are going to kick some serious butt. Here's what happened. The nurses filed a lawsuit in Houston, and it was a crappy lawsuit, and they lost. And so it made it look like hospitals can now mandate everything. Well, the nurses now are saying, nah, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to use Jeff's approach. And they're using it in Georgia right now and in Arizona. And they're banding together, and they're using the direct approach, and they're using the affidavit and demand approach. And what happens is when you have 40% of your nurses negotiating with you and telling you, hey, we are not going to get the jab and we are together on this, yep, the hospital cannot function without 40% of their nurses. This is the power we have when we band together. So there's a whole lot of corporations out there right now that are terrified of us uniting. And Health Freedom for Humanity is forming local chapters in each state, and we're making that happen. So that's my experience. I'm ready to turn it over to Robert now. That's what we're doing.
By the way, just one thing before you go, Robert. Jeff, as a follow-up to what we said in our last call, Danny Parrott actually came over the very next day we spend time together. We're working on putting together events right here in New York. So it's going to be a great
nice.
for that chapter of Health Freedom for Humanity.
Love it.
Oh, that's
Love
awesome. Fantastic. So I'll take everybody down the rabbit hole a little bit. We talk about these laws, right? And what they're doing and how they're breaking the law, but most of us don't even know what the law is, right? We have no clue. And if you look at the law, it, you know, makes you bewildered. You're bewildered. I mean, there's thousands of laws, right? What do we look at? What applies? Well, what most people don't realize is the laws that they're following are municipal corporate laws, and therefore the municipal corporation, right? The municipality. It's for them, right? We, unfortunately, are assumed to be under that jurisdiction, and we keep volunteering to do that. And we're misled. They've taught us for years how to be citizens. We're not supposed to be U.S. citizens here anyway. We have a certain standing. We have a state citizenship. Okay, that's entirely different than a U.S. citizenship. For those that don't know, a United States citizen was created after the Civil War for the slaves that were freed that didn't have a state. Because they were stateless, they weren't allowed to vote. They had to make some sort of citizenship for them. So they said, we'll make a federal citizenship, and they'll be owned by the federal government. So they went from public slavery from private slavery to public slavery without even knowing it. Then as time went on, they tricked everybody into being this dual citizen, that those of us who weren't slaves at the time and were born here, and now we're all under that guise. So when we say we have rights, most people say, I have rights, but they don't realize they don't have rights. They only have privileges because their rights were taken away when they agreed to be a U.S. citizen and they signed up to vote. Only U.S. federal citizens can vote, not state citizens. State citizens are not allowed to vote. Only federal citizens. The minute you sign up to vote, you just signed up to all those laws and things that they're doing to you. But once you revoke that and you say, no, I'm not that status anymore, hands off. Because now if you injure me, I could take the whole damn lot of you down. And there's a lot out there in the legal community. They don't believe this, but I can show you cases where it's been proven. I can show you in the law where it says it. You know, one of the places I always tell everybody is in the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Unsworn Declarations, it's called. And this is just an evidence now. Doesn't mean that this one law pertains to everything. It only pertains to declarations, but it tells you right there, you can swear to the facts of something. You can declare it under the laws of the United States of America, but without the United States. Well, if they're the same place, then how can I swear under one without the other? If the laws are the same, how can they put that in the code? Well, they can't do that, right? So this is going to get much bigger. And by people standing up and saying, I know who I am, that's the first step. So it's really important. You know, what Jeff is doing and helping people understand is really super important, because we're going to take it to a whole other level. And they're not going to stop, guys. They have an agenda, and their agenda is to keep on going until it just implodes. Now they're going to try to cut food off. They're going to try to cut electric. They're going to do all kinds of stuff coming up because they're going to get desperate. And what they're doing is they're forcing us to separate from them. And that is something that we all are being prepared for. That's a big jump, okay? Because people are coming together with private resources. They're coming together to support this separation, and they may not even realize it, but it's coming and it's happening. Just read the Bible. It's in there. You know, you got to leave Babylon. You have to go out of Babylon. It's the only way. But that doesn't mean you have to get in your car and drive to another country. It means you have to get out of the economic system. You have to get out of the slave system, because it is a slave system. And I will tell you, they are harvesting souls, and they've been harvesting souls for 2,000 years now. Okay. And that's what we're really coming to. And once we crack that, we're off and running, because you can't touch us, man. Our rights are then restored. You see? Yeah. So, but we have to get out of this America, patriotism, because that's all propaganda. Most people don't realize our flag. Have you ever looked at the East India Company flag? Do you guys know what the East India Company is? They used to sell herbs and spices back in, I forget what year it was, but they did a lot of business. They were out of England, the East India Company, and they did trade with India. And they pretty much monopolized India back then. Look at their flag. It's the American flag without the Union Jack in the canton, without the stars. It's the same flag. This is nothing but corporatism that evolved over time from kings and kings, really. People that went into countries, destroyed the Aborigines and the natives and said, because we destroyed you, this is ours. And they took all the knowledge and they hid it all. And then they went from there and they said, well, this is ours now. You have to follow our rules, right? Well, who the hell are you? All you have to do is read two things: the doctrine of discovery and conquest, because that's the only way that lands were taken and discovered. And when you read both of those, you go, this doesn't make any sense. You mean I could just show up somewhere, kill everybody, and go, oh, this is mine now. Now you have to follow my rules. That is, as stupid as it sounds, that is what happened. But yet,
and by the way, Robert, I just want to mention, people are asking about status and how do you pull yourself out of the system. And I just want to mention, you've said before, you do that by changing your status. That's the first thing. And then you just keep doing that.
Yeah. Well, so you have to put an intention out there to change status first off. But see, this gets into a much deeper conversation. I don't know if we want to go down that rabbit hole, as you know.
Great.
And the problem is, we think that they're talking to us, but they're not talking to us. They're talking for our entity that they set up for us, which happened at birth. And people will go on the internet. They'll see this stuff about the straw man. It's poo-pooed in the legal system. That's all garbage. It's not that it's garbage. It's that most people have interpreted it improperly. Okay. But when you really get down to it, yes, there is an organization created for you at birth. It's called a trust. Okay. And it's called Social Security. Now, when they're talking to you, they're not talking to you. They're talking to the Social Security account. But when you step up and authorize everything for it, you keep signing for it, you keep taking the fall for it. The government is supposed to take the fall for it. They're supposed to be signing your debts. They're supposed to be signing everything for you. They're supposed to be taking your traffic tickets, your divorce cases. They're supposed to be doing all that because it's not you. So that's when we talk about changing status, it's a deep rabbit hole.
We spoke about that a little bit when we did our interview, and maybe we can even do a live just on that specifically, because I know that goes really deep and it's focused. I have a question for you, Robert. I don't know if there's even there's probably an answer to this. There's always an answer to something. But right now, I know the most recent, when it comes to some sort of law that was brought up to me with 21 U.S. Code 360 BBB-3 of, I believe the words are, no emergency authorized medical product may be mandated.
Yeah, we have informed consent and the option to refuse.
So I have a question, and this is the kicker that I've been being asked a lot, and I don't know the answer, so I'd like to ask it here.
Sure.
What happens when these products are no longer under the EUA or no longer emergency authorized? Because that's not far. That's not far from now. There's
right.
I don't know when, but I wouldn't be surprised if in a month they're like, FDA says it's all good. We're good to go.
So yeah, it's interesting about the emergency stuff, right? Because that's a really good subject to bring up. This country has been functioning under emergency war powers since the Civil War. It's never been abolished. Emergency war powers have not been abolished. Lincoln was our first dictator, and we've had a dictator ever since. They just give you the illusion that you have a choice. You don't have a choice. Every election has been rigged because everyone's been pre-selected. There are facts beyond belief, and those that try to bring it to the table usually take a bullet, right? Like Kennedy. When Kennedy stepped out and started talking about it, you didn't hear the deep state back then. If you said the words deep state, that bullet would hit you the minute the word state came out of your mouth. You're done, right? Now it's a household name, or a household word. But back then, no. The deep state has, and you can track this all through history if you read the right books, not the history books they force feed us. So when that emergency happens, whenever there's a declared emergency or a war declared, they have the right to suspend the Constitution and follow military war powers, all right? Which means you don't step out of line because it's all martial law. Okay, so we've been under martial law for a long time. So but the martial law only applies to the U.S. citizen. It doesn't apply to the state citizen, at least here. Okay, so what would happen with that again is now we have the evidence that we need to force this on you, right? That's why we have to be smart and go, but we have the evidence we need to say that's treason. So knock yourself out. And we've got enough people that are going to hold you responsible for that. Now the problem we have is, what court are we going to do it in? That's going to have to go to the international court, right? Because this is much, when you're dealing with state citizens versus United States citizens, you're dealing with international law. Because remember, you can go to any historian and say, are the states sovereign? Yeah, every single state is supposed to be sovereign. But the municipal state, just go on Dun & Bradstreet, look it up. It's a municipal corporation. That's not sovereign. That's owned by the United States. That does business with the United States and the public. So that's a whole different ballgame. The state, the true state governments aren't even there. They're not even wearing those hats because they're municipal corporation, So yes, the question, the answer to that is they're going to start, in my opinion, enforcing that. And if we don't stand together in a unified way to understand these principles and these points and then embody them, there's going to be a lot of suffering. Let's put it that way. There's going to be a lot of suffering. So that's why we're trying to get this message out and let people know, look, there's way more to this. The whole entire thing is all about money and control. And they've done this throughout history. They create an emergency and then they play savior. Create a war and then play savior. And each time they play savior, they go, well, if we're going to play savior, well, we just got to take a little bit more of your freedom. You want to be saved? You want us to protect you? Okay, we'll take a little more. And everybody's like, yeah, just keep the football game on, man. We're good. Take it. Go ahead. Keep the football game on. So no one is seeing that this is a pattern that these guys have perfected over thousands of years. And we're being woken up, right? Because it's like,
so that kind of segues into, I would say, the other massive important question in this entire equation. And Jeff, I know you do a lot of this with all the talks that you do and stand up for. And just the other day, right, you said you spoke in Hollywood to a few people over there. It's one thing to say on one side of the equation that there are certain individuals perpetrating all of this, creating all of this. I would say the bigger problem is the fact that there are not thousands, not millions, billions saying, okay, saying that when even we have this live, I guarantee you if this live was put on the mainstream media, most of the people that would be watching it, even without commentary, would be like, those people are crazy. So how do we communicate this message of this true law in a way that sounds extremely rational, in a way where the person that's really not aware of any of this can say, whoa, that's interesting, and I'm going to look into it, as opposed to, oh, he's crazy, that's a conspiracy. Where do we start? Because ultimately, to change the world, we need people to hear. And at this point, to change the world, we need a lot of people to decide to hear, to choose to listen. And I would say my question on this is, where's the foundation of this without starting at the bottom of a rabbit hole or at the top? What foundational things can we speak of to all the 750 people that are watching right now on Instagram? If they were to spark up a conversation to try and have somebody to understand and at least choose to see this without thinking they're going into a conspiracy theory, where would one start? Where's a rational place to start?
Yeah, I'll take this, Robert. The hardest thing is that people still think they have to ask for permission. Can we start there? Can we tell people that, hey, I had a conversation with somebody last night where I just asked them, who told you that you weren't in control of your destiny? Who stopped you along the line and said you can't generate the outcome you want to generate? Because what I'm seeing, and I spoke in Hollywood last night, and Hollywood is it's like the Church of Hollywood. And it functions where everybody's in line like a 1910 Mormon church. I'm going to go back to that analogy because it's so good. I just watched Riders of the Purple Sage. Love that movie. Zane Grey's the author of that book. And, in it, he talks about the old Mormon system that they had was the men controlled everything. The women had nothing. And they just, you know, it was just power domination all over the place. And the funny thing about people in Hollywood, because I've been around here and I've tried to make it work until I finally went rogue and did solo stuff, was everybody thinks they're in the greatest church in the world, that the Church of Hollywood is so holy. And you've got all these brilliant, beautiful actors, and they're all such great people. And these producers that give us these jobs are such wonderful people. And it couldn't be further from the truth. These guys have got prostitutes constantly. They're doing adrenochrome. They could care less about any human soul, let alone a human being. And there's this illusion again. And I'm going to go back to what Robert said, is we've been in a slave system for a long, long time.
Yep.
Let's start there. Let's start with waking people up to the fact that, hey man, your rights were taken away a long time ago in society, but also as a child, you were taught that you can only go so far and you've got to obey and you've got to do what we say. And here, we're going to throw a little violence and sexual abuse in it too, just to really control you. So for me, I made a film called Beliefs and Stories about
amazing
getting
film, by the way. Anybody that hasn't seen it, go check it out.
Thank you. And it's even with Jason Shurka on Academy of Divine Knowledge. It's there as well. And what that film is saying is, hey, we've all got a story, but we've got a belief about that story that changes everything. If I believe I'm victimized by that person that either abused me sexually or physically, and that's keeping me down, that's on me. That's not on them 30 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever. Yep. That's on me, because I can do the work. There is emotional work to do to get out from underneath that system of being victimized. That's the wake-up call that I want to help people with, because as I do that, a light bulb clicks in their head, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. So that's my experience. Robert, what do you think?
Well, I totally agree 100% with everything. And just to make a comment about Hollywood, what is Hollywood? Does anybody know who used Hollywood back in the day? What was Hollywood used for? The magician's stick. We're going to do a little magic here and make sure we pull the wool.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's where, the Hollywood was what a magician's stick was made out of. So Hollywood is a disclosure. Actually, it's a disclosure platform. If you go back and watch movies from 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, 60 years ago, you will see they're telling you all of these different things throughout every movie. And in a spiritual sense, they go, we're cool, we're safe because we gave them disclosure. They think that we're talking about things that aren't real. They think it would be a conspiracy. But hey, that's their problem. We showed them. We put it in the movie, right? All the time, man. It's like that all the time. So in order to start really waking people up so that they realize it's the truth, there's no one source to go to. There are many, but you have to know the facts of things. Like I could sit here, we could go on for an hour and I could just keep shocking you with more and more facts that are in the law. I'll point right to them where they are historically, that type of thing. So it's more about grabbing some nuggets and trying to throw your dart at someone saying, hey, catch this one. What do you think about that? I never thought of that. I would have never guessed that. Here's one. So when people talk about this straw man and this all capital letter name that many of you might see on the internet about this conspiracy theory that this is going on, I'll pay, well, I won't pay this because I don't have it. But if I had $1 million, I would say anyone that anyone that brings me the English law, right? Or not the English law, but the law in English language, right? The rule in English language that says this, anything in all capitals is a word, I would give you that $1 million, but it's not. If you read the definition of capitonym, it says anytime a capital is introduced, it changes the meaning of the word. Okay, so that's why you see, something that's in all lowercase is different than if it has an uppercase first letter, because that's a noun. It's not just like a thing, or, well, actually a person, place, or thing would be all uppercase. It's the same thing with an all capital letter name. And so when people try to poo-poo this, I go, no, that's a symbol. And here's another thing. I'll tell anybody too, if you want another million that I don't have, go down to your local cemetery and tell me how many names you see on that tombstone that are in upper and lowercase. None. They're all in uppercase because something in all uppercase no longer exists. It's not there. Things to think about, facts to look at, things to hit people with. And it's like, whoa, that's right.
And by the way, when I submitted my Trader Joe's affidavit, I submitted it as capital J, lowercase EFFREY, and then on with my name. I did not submit it as all capitals.
Right, because that's the real, well, it's supposed to be the real you. Not,
so just to confirm, the all capital is like the legal corporation, the entity, and capital first letter, and then rest lowercase is you, natural you, real you, human you.
Yes, but in the system, it's actually so you don't have a last name either. That's another thing. I defy anybody. I've got a whole set behind me of a legal encyclopedia. Okay, this is what every attorney has, every law library in this country has American jurisprudence. And you go in there and you read about names. And I'll give you another million I don't have. To look in there and tell me where it says you have a first, middle, and where it says in the law, first, middle, last name. There's no such thing as a first, middle, last name. In those books, it says you have a given name and you have a family name. If you have a first, middle, last name, you're simply naming a thing. You're not naming a human being because a human being only has a first and middle name. They don't have, the last name comes from the house. And the last names didn't come into play until about the 13th or 14th century. They started giving people house names. We didn't even have last names up to that point. Okay. Why do you think the Queen Elizabeth, did she use her last name? No. These kings, King Ferdinand, King George, do they use last names? No, they don't. But when they do, they say from the House of Windsor, because that's the house name that passes down through the generations. That's not your name. Yeah, that's not your name. That's the house name. So it's all about this trickery of language. And when you could start bringing these facts to people and there's no way for them to rebut them because it doesn't exist in the books. I mean, now they're just talking, what they've heard their whole life. They're not telling you. They can't rebut it with anything else other than what they've heard. They can't. It's impossible. So those are little things. I'll give you another good one. How many years is it for bankruptcy forgiveness for a human being? 7 years, right? We all know 7 years bankruptcy is forgiven. For countries, it's 70 years in the law. Jewish law, by the way, if you want one source where all the truth is, just go to the Bible. I mean, it's all there. It's all in the Bible. This all comes out of the Bible, all of it, okay? Granted, it's written in ways that are confusing and all, but it's there. It's just like the modern day codes, right? The real truth is hidden in, that's why they call it a code, in my opinion. It's hidden in the code, right? Same thing with the Bible. But every 70 years is bankruptcy. So let's look at the wonderful United States of America. Forget the United States, I'm not even going to go there, okay? The United States of America signed the Constitution and ratified it, and it was in effect in 1789, 1790. Congress had its first session. 70 now they were bankrupt because they fought the Revolutionary War, didn't have any money. They had to have France come over and fight that war for them. So they had to pay France. So they're bankrupt. Do the math. 1790, 70 years later, what happened in 1860? The Civil War. Oh, sorry guys, can't be out of bankruptcy. You got to pay for this war now. 70 years later, 1930. Oh, sorry, guys, can't be out of bankruptcy. Now the stock market crashed. Look at that, just happened to crash. 70 years later, plus one. They always, it's a year or two here and there. 9/11. Sorry, guys, can't be out of bankruptcy. War on terror.
Wow.
It's a setup. And when you can start hitting people with these facts, that's when they wake up. So there's no one source. There's a ton of them. There's tons. And that's at REM Private Management. That's what we're trying to do. Well, not trying, we're going to do. We're going to rebuild the entire website. Everything's being rebuilt so it can be an educational source of the true history and truly the way things work so people can quickly start getting educated. And it's going to be up hopefully in the next month and a half. I got to have a meeting this week and see what timeline we're looking at. But we're just going to load it with tons of stuff, videos, information.
I love it. I love it. I like to I have like some sort of, it's an unspoken formula whenever I do anything public with speaking to anybody. And the formula is always shock people in the beginning, open the system. Plant the truth, might shock them even more, but that's when they're open enough to receive it. And then close the conversation, film, movie, whatever it is that we're doing with absolute empowerment and the steps that can be taken. So to sum this up, and I'll tell you why I'm summing it up, because I know that we can go on for 10 hours.
Yeah.
And I really want people to absorb everything every time they hear this because of how important it is, instead of just like, you know. So we do this for an hour, and it's like, okay, and then we'll do it again when in phase like that. That's my like formula. It's an unspoken thing that I do until now.
Great. Yeah,
so
great. That's the way it should be, actually. I like that flow.
I love it. I love it. It's worked up until now. So to bring this to an empowering close, and again, Jeff, we'll start with you. Robert, we'll close with you just so we have that flow. I'm going to ask a few questions. You answer it however you want. Where do you see our potential in the near future with our freedom of choice and how we're going to exercise it? Where do you see our collective destiny, absolute, in terms of nothing being able to change the end destination, whatever you call that? And do you think that the truth will absolutely prevail? If so, do you have an idea intuitively of some sort of timeline where you see things may change?
Yeah, so I was asked this question yesterday as well. And the answer to that is we've got a lot of different sources from a lot of different avenues, all saying the same thing. And these are really empathic people. You know, people like Lori Ladd, Oracle Girl, Dr. Christian Northrup, all Jason Shurka, all the people Jason knows. And then if you want to just go to the Bible, we already know what the end of the story says. We win. All right. So there's so many spiritual sources that are all saying the same thing that we have to go through this huge decimation before we can all wake up and get to this place, because it's just too much work. It's too much work to reimagine society. We would have never done this unless the Klaus Schwabs of the world would come in and tell us we have to change what we're doing. So thank God for Klaus Schwab and all the other guys that are out there, because they're bringing us to the point where we do have to do something about it. So, you know, absolutely, this is going to be wonderful. And things are going to be so much better because instead of being slaves, we're going to now be free and in control. And the most beautiful part about the whole thing for me, Jason, is we're going to be connected to God.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing in our society and in Hollywood and everything that we've missed. We've been poo-pooed for our relationships with God. We've been told that we're not with it. We're not smart, whatever. It's like, no, in the direction we're moving, not only is being with God give us all the power, freedom, and love, but it's actually the way the whole universe operates anyway. And if you're not with God, then you just don't get it, and you're going to miss out on everything. So what does that mean in a tangible here and now moment? And what that means is, for me, this is super important. We are not going to win every battle. Stop it. Stop it. These people in Hollywood that are like, oh, but they won't give me a job if I don't get the thing or whatever. It's like, yeah, you can fight them. You can go after them. You can leave them, whatever, but don't just sit there and complain and do self-pity and whatever. It's like, we're not going to win every battle. So pick your battles, pick your people, get together. Let's create the new earth. That's what it's all about. And we can do it with serving the law. We can do it with direct communication. However you choose to do it, you know, we do it through leaving those we can't fix, getting with people that we can get together with, and creating the new earth.
I love it. I love it. I love every second of it.
Everything Jeff said, and I'm just going to sum it all up. At some point, we will be declaring our independence once again, and we will be forming a new nation. And it will not have borders, and it will be all over the world. and everyone is welcome in that nation except those that don't want to be welcome, and they want a king that's going to make them comfortable as long as they get the shot. That's up to them. But that's exactly what I've been shown for years and years in this journey, and I've been through a lot of trial and tribulation where God keeps saying, yes, 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 this is where you're going, this is what you're doing, you know, you're putting this together, you're part of the ground crew, you're, you know. So to me, I don't get all, oh my God, we're gonna do this. I'm just like Jeff said, like, I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man. We're rocking this thing. We're putting it together. People are coming together. We're gonna slam it. We're gonna declare independence at some point, and we're out. You know, sorry, we're done. We got our own thing. Don't touch us. This is our land, not yours. And I've got all that. I mean, I've been spitting this out for years. Look, guys, you know, I would say like 7 years ago, look, guys, you want to handle this? Here's how we do it, right? And, you know, people love the idea, but they weren't in a position where they wanted to take that chance. They weren't in that uncomfortable position. So there was nothing pushing them. And just like Jeff said, you know, thank you, Klaus Schwab, you know, or all these other guys. Thank you for doing this, because you're pushing us to finally get this new world built. And it doesn't include those old systems, which, again, if you just read the Bible, it tells you, I mean, that's all the serpent's world, man. That's all, you know, let them have it. Commerce and all, that's all them. We're going to create a system where eventually we're not going to need money anymore, because we're going to figure out how to trade energy that is equitable, and it you know, works for everyone, and no one is injuring each other because there's no need to. There's no war. If you don't have any war and you don't have any competition, there's no need to injure anybody, because you're not trying to beat the guy down to get on top. Everybody's chill. Now we're building ships to get off of this planet if we want to. Now we're going to different galaxies because we can spend our time focusing on that. And the way that I see it, honestly, if you want to know the mechanics, some of the mechanics is, when we form a society that way, what you do is you form a governance. You don't form a government, right? The people live by the golden rules. Jesus said there's 2 commandments, right? Love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and treat your brother the way you want to be treated. Treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated, right? That's the law of the land. Like, if you're not doing that, clearly you have some sort of rehabilitation that you need, because you feel the need to have more for you or be selfish in your actions. When you form a system of governance, that system is strictly to supply the people with their abundance. It is to facilitate everything. It has nothing to do with making laws for people. If you can't govern yourself, you get exiled. Sorry, but you're not ready. And actually, that's harsh. But my vision of what I'm being shown is there will be people that will obviously need help. And if someone breaks a law, one of those 2, and they hurt someone with intent and malice, they need to be healed. They need to be healed. It is a healing sentence. It's not a, oh, we're going to kick you out of the community, or we're going to fine you and imprison you, and so you just keep making the same thing. We just keep sucking money off you. No, this person needs to be healed. Hey, community, this person is sick. They need healing, because they feel in their body and in their mind that they have to hurt somebody to make themselves feel better. They need love. They need love. So there is no system of punishment anymore. It goes away. And with that kind of system, who the hell wouldn't want to live there? You know, who wouldn't want to be part of that? But what we see today is there has to be a constant emergency and a constant war. There has to be a constant threat, constant fear, so that the government can take control of us. And the governance is way off the charts, right? Because that's gone. Like, now it's just all about control, control, control. Govern, control.
Yeah.
Mantis, mind. Control the mind. You know, that's what it's all about. So that's my take on it. We're going to great places. I don't know about some of those other people, but all of us watching this thing, we're
I love it. Listen, I in my backyard, I have one flag, and it's not a flag of the country I live in. It's not a flag of any of that. It's actually a flag of our planet, of Earth.
Oh, I love it.
And the reason why I have that, because everybody's like, I come from a Jewish background, families from like Israel and Iran and Yemen and all these places. And they're like, why don't you have the Israel flag? Why don't you have the Iranian flag or this? And I'm like, because it doesn't make sense to me how an arbitrary invisible border can tell me that this piece of grass belongs to one person and that piece of grass belongs to another. Or the air over here, that by the way travels to the air over there. It just, the whole over here, over there, and the us and the that, it doesn't make sense to me. So part of my stance to sort of embody that resonance is that earth flag. And I put together a unity rally about 2 months ago. I think it was in June. And I said, everybody bring whatever flag represents you. And purposely, I wore the earth flag and I brought a bunch of them to subliminally share that message of we're one. You know, we're here together. You may be Asian, you may be black, that may be a Jew or a Muslim or a Christian, but we do all have a heart that beats. We come from the same place. And in my eyes, the moment we lose and we dissolve the identities and the identifications that we've been taught that we are, is the moment we'll come to realize, wait a second, we are all one and the same. And the analogy that I always give and that I've given in the past is just think about it like the human body. You know, Einstein says, look deep into nature and you'll understand everything better. And if you look at just the nature of the human body, you see we have a heart and we have a brain and we have eyes and we have a liver and a kidney and all these things. Now imagine the liver said, the kidney's in trouble. I don't really care because it doesn't look like me. It doesn't act like me. It doesn't operate like me. So I'm not going to help it. Well, if the liver doesn't help the kidney and the kidney doesn't help the liver, or the brain doesn't help the heart and the heart doesn't help the rest of the body, well, you're not going to have a body sooner or later and everything's going to die. So we are one. We may look different. We may have different beliefs. We may speak different languages. We're all different organs of the same body. And I mean, it's in the word, humanity. There's unity. That's where it all is. That's what we are. That's where we come from. And that's what we go back to. So I am completely in alignment with what you guys are saying. We, in my eyes, it's our absolute destiny to reach that point. I say it's not a question of, are we going to get there? It's a question of, when are we going to get there? You know, because we're getting there. The question is when and how. Do we need 7 nuclear bombs to go off? Do we need 1 billion people to die? Or can we just do this by choosing to say, we're going to do this now? Because ultimately, if you have those 7 atomic bombs go off, the next thing that's going to come is people are going to say, okay, we're going to choose now to do it. If you have 1 billion people that die, okay, well, that's a catalyst to say, okay, we're going to choose to do now. So the common theme is making the choice. Now the question is, do we need to get hurt and then make the choice? Or do we want to learn just by obviously understanding what comes next? Because the way we opened this live was things are going to get louder and louder and louder until people decide to wake up. Because that's how you wake people up, right? If there's 10 people sleeping in a room and just by opening the door, the crack of the door opens one person because they just happen to be a light sleeper. And then you start clapping and speaking, and then another 2 people wake up, but you still got 7 sleeping. And then you go to the bed and you try and move the 7 people, and then you get another 4, but there's still 3 sleeping. And you get to the last 2, and you need to pour a very cold pail of water on them, and maybe they're still sleeping. And that process continues and keeps going and going and getting louder and harder until the entire room is awake. And I think that's what we're going through. It may seem like it's a really scary time right now because things are getting louder, and they will continue to get louder, in my opinion, until we say, okay, we're going to listen. We're going to listen to the signs that the universe is giving us. And we're going to say no. We're going to choose to wake up, and we're going to choose to make a difference. And yeah, I mean, I genuinely feel wholeheartedly, absolutely, indefinitely that we will reach that point. The question is when, and the answer is when we choose to. Now the question is, when are we going to choose to?
Thank you for that, Jason. And do we need to cut this off within a 60-minute time frame to save it, or will they let
I
it go
don't
on?
know. It's happened sometimes, so that's why I mean, let's go for it, and I'll let you know if the timer comes
I'm
up.
good. I'm good with
You
what
want to say
I think we
anything?
covered it. I'm happy.
I love it. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
part
you
of
don't
that
want to
whole-
ask me because I'll go on forever. You know that. I got all kinds of nuggets to spill
What
out.
we can do, and I think it's important because this is a really big topic right now, is every so often let's schedule things like this. You know, let's talk more and more about it. Things are going to start getting crazy. You know, it started in the state that I live in, New York. It doesn't look like New Yorkers are going to stand up to the extent that needs to be stood up to, and it's going to spread. You know, and I'm not saying that to perpetuate negativity. I'm saying that to acknowledge reality. That's what's happening. That's just what's happening. So The more we can speak about it, the more we can
better.
share,
Yep.
the more, people just have to be aware. And thank God, seriously, to the work of the both of you in the ways that you do what you guys do, you're changing the world. You're absolutely changing the world. And it's an absolute honor and privilege in my eyes to even be able to be sitting down with you guys on a live show to share this with. We had 700, 800 people at one point sitting at the same time watching this on Instagram. So it just goes to show you that even with all the evil in the world, we can make a lot of good out of it. A knife can make a salad, a knife can stab somebody. How do you choose to use it?
Yep.
And I just say we choose to use these platforms in the way that we can to wake people up to the best of our absolute ability. And I'm grateful for the both of you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you,
man.
brother. I'm grateful for both of you. Grateful.
Absolutely.
So grateful both of you came in, and I'm so excited to work with you guys because I know it's just going to continue to get awesome because we're optimistic, because we see the other side. We've made that choice, just like you said. And it's a collective choice, man. We're just here to show people we've made the choice and we're okay. Now you can too, and make the choice. So we don't have to go through the bombs and the killings and all that stuff. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
100%.
Yep.
Jeff, one last question. Somebody just asked you. Wait, where is it? Jeff, any Trader Joe's updates? Do you have any updates before we close this?
Yeah, they just keep imploding. There's going to be an article in the Epic Times about the way they keep shooting themselves in the foot. So I'm going to direct people to the Epic Times article on Trader Joe's that's coming out either tomorrow or the next day.
Awesome.
And and I'll have even more news in a week.
Awesome. I love it. Jeff, Robert, thank you. We'll keep in touch. We'll continue doing whatever we're doing to do whatever we can. And again, thank you both for the work that you're doing. It's much appreciated on everybody's behalf.
Yeah.
Right on.
Thank you. And thank you too,
Awesome.
Jeff. Love you guys.
Right on. Thanks, Robert.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys.